Jimmy Butler genuinely changed everything since joining the Warriors. They've been on an absolute tear since getting Jimmy Butler in 7 games. They've won 6 and shot up the standings, jumping from 10th to 8th in just 4 days. That kind of turnaround isn't just impressive, it's dominant. They're not just sneaking by with close wins either. They're blowing teams out, putting them away early, and making a statement every night. Scoring, they're lighting teams up. They're 6th in points per game, proving they're back to being an offensive powerhouse. They're 8th in made shots, meaning it's not just about volume, it's efficiency too. From deep, they're 7th in three-pointers made, consistently stretching the floor and forcing defenses to scramble. And at the free throw line, they're hitting at the 4th best rate in the league, making opponents pay every time they get sent to the stripe. Rebounding, they're dominating the glass. They rank 2nd in offensive rebounds, giving themselves endless second chances. That's huge, especially when they're already one of the best scoring teams. More possessions mean more points, and they're making every extra opportunity count. And the passing, it's beautiful basketball. They're 2nd in assists, moving the ball at an elite level, and they lead the entire league in assist percentage. That means their offense is flowing, guys are trusting each other, and defenses are struggling to keep up. They're not just making extra passes, they're making the right passes, and they're keeping it clean while doing it. They've got the 3rd least turnovers in the league and sit at 2nd in assist to turnover ratio. That's the perfect balance. Fast, unselfish basketball without being careless. But the most ridiculous part, their defense has been even better. They've got the best defensive rating in the league. That means they're not just outscoring teams, they're locking them down too. They're 1st in steals, disrupting everything, jumping passing lanes, and making opponents uncomfortable all game. And when you combine elite offense with elite defense, you get an insane 2nd place ranking in net rating. They're not just winning games, they're dominating them on both ends. And they're doing all this while steps back to sitting out 4th quarters again. That says everything about how dominant they've been. They're putting teams away early, forcing blowouts. Their best player doesn't even need to be on the floor in crunch time. And Draymond, he's back in his bag on offense, making plays, scoring when needed, and fitting perfectly into this new version of the team. They're playing with energy, confidence, and chemistry, and the numbers back up everything. This isn't just a small hot streak. This is a completely different squad since adding Butler. But the thing really is how good the individual players have been for the Warriors. And of course, we have to start with Butler individually. Since the Jimmy Butler trade, everything has changed for the Warriors. The Heat have completely fallen apart, winning just 1 game while losing 6. Meanwhile, the Warriors have flipped the switch, winning 6 out of 7 and looking like a completely different team. Butler's averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and over 5 assists. But those numbers don't even begin to show just how big his impact has been. The biggest stat? He's a plus 72 in just 7 games. That means when he's on the court, the Warriors are absolutely dominating. And if that sounds like an exaggeration, it's not. The numbers back it up in every way. It's February, 2 full months before the playoffs, and they're already getting playoff Jimmy. That's not normal. Usually he saves his best basketball for April, but this time he's been a game changer. From the second he stepped on the court. Before the trade, the Warriors were stuck in mediocrity. They were inconsistent, floating in and out of the play-in picture, constantly trying to figure out how to fix their issues. Now, they've got an identity again, they've got energy, and they're playing like a team that believes it can beat anyone. The shift has been undeniable. They opened the home stretch of the season with a dominant win in Sacramento, then crushed Dallas by 24 at home. That was their first 3-game win streak since November. That's the kind of thing that completely changes the vibe of a season. They've gone from struggling to put together back-to-back wins to steamrolling teams, and Butler's presence has been at the center of it all. Even Steve Kerr admitted it. This team needed a shakeup. The roster had talent, but something was missing. Butler has been that missing piece. And since the trade, the Warriors have improved in almost every single major category. Through 51 games, they were ranked 18th in offensive rating. Since the trade, 6th. Before Butler, they were 10th in defense. Now, 5th. They were 9th in assists per game before. Now they're 3rd. They were 8th in assist to turnover ratio. Now they're 3rd. 9th in steals before Butler, 2nd now. 12th in fewest turnovers before, 5th now. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, the Warriors. That's not just a good stretch of basketball, that's a complete transformation. And it's not just 1 or 2 guys benefiting from his presence, it's everybody. Steph's getting easier shots. Draymond's got another high IQ player to work with. The young guys like Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody are playing with more confidence. Even role players like Buddy Hield and Quentin Post are thriving in their roles. This isn't just about one guy playing well, It's about one guy elevating the entire team. That's the biggest difference. This team finally makes sense now. Before the trade, the Warriors were constantly adjusting, constantly searching for a lineup that worked, constantly trying to plug holes. Now, they know exactly what they're doing. They've got a formula that works, and it all runs through Butler. Steph even said it himself. This team has structure again. He knows exactly when he's coming out, exactly when he's going back in, and exactly how the offense is going to flow with Butler running things. Before, there was always that uncertainty. How would they generate offense without Steph? Who was going to step up in those minutes? Now, there's no guesswork. Butler's out there controlling the tempo, making the right decisions, and keeping everything under control. That's why the Warriors aren't just winning games, they're winning them comfortably. And the most ridiculous stat of all, free throws. The Warriors were dead last in the league in free throw percentage through 51 games, worst in the NBA. Since the trade, they're second. They've shot over 80% in 5 of the last 6 games, including 87% in their blowout win over Dallas. That's the kind of stat that doesn't even seem real. How does a team go from worst to one of the best that quickly? It's all about discipline, confidence, and accountability, things Butler brings to every team he plays for. And the scariest part, they can still get better. The only real drop-off since the trade has been their rebound. Before Butler, they were 3rd in the league. Now, they're 12th, but they've made up for it in other areas. Their offensive rebounding has improved, and they're second in second chance points after being 7th before. So even though they're not grabbing as many boards, they're making the ones they do get count. The only thing that hasn't fully bounced back yet, 3-point shooting. They were 13th in the league before Butler arrived, now they're 20th. They're shooting just under 34% from deep since the trade, but that number is bound to improve. There's no way a team with Steph, Hield, and Butler stays that cold for long. And when the threes start falling again, that's when this team goes from great to absolutely terrifying. The biggest change isn't even in the stats though, it's in the mindset. Before the trade, the Warriors thought they should win games but kept finding ways to lose them. Now, they expect to win. They believe they're going to win, and then they go out and prove it. That kind of shift in confidence hasn't been there since they won the title in 2022. Butler hasn't just made the Warriors better. He's made them believe in themselves again. This isn't just a good stretch of basketball. This isn't just a team getting hot for a few weeks. This is a team that's been completely re-energized. They've got the numbers to prove it, they've got the wins to back it up, and they've got a player who's been through every playoff war leading the charge. This is what happens when you add a guy who knows exactly what it takes to win. Butler hasn't just been a great addition, he's been a complete game changer. And if this is what they look like now, just imagine what happens when the playoffs roll around. But now, I want to talk about JK. The Warriors have been on an absolute tear since the Jimmy Butler trade. But here's the craziest part. They've done it all without JK. That's not just impressive, it's straight up terrifying. For the rest of the league, this team is rolling, winning 6 out of 7, locking teams up on defense, and playing their best basketball of the season. And yet, they're still missing one of their most athletic and impactful players. Once JK comes back, this team is only going to get better. And let's be clear, JK isn't just some rotation player, he's a game changer. His impact on both ends of the floor has been massive all season, and the numbers prove it. He's averaging nearly 17 points per game, which puts him ahead of more than half the league's players in scoring. His usage rate is sitting at 28%, meaning when he's on the floor, he's heavily involved in the offense. That's a huge piece of production the Warriors haven't even had since Butler arrived. And then there's the defense. JK has been a force on that end of the floor. His team defensive rating of 110 puts him in the top 9% of all players in the league. He's versatile, quick, and strong enough to guard multiple positions, making him one of the most valuable defenders on the roster. He's averaging nearly 4 defensive rebounds per game, picking up close to 1 steal, and adding over half a block per contest. His ability to switch onto different matchups and make life miserable for scorers is something the Warriors have been missing since he went down. Right now, the Warriors have the best defensive rating in the entire league since Butler arrived. They're shutting teams down, forcing turnovers, and controlling the tempo of game. And yet, they've done all of this without one of their most athletic defenders. When JK comes back, it's only going to take this team's defense to another level. But his impact isn't just on defense. His offensive presence is going to make a massive difference too. Right now, the Warriors are getting balanced scoring across the board, but JK's ability to attack the rim and put pressure on defenses adds another layer to their offense. He's taking over 13 shots per game and getting to the free throw line more than 5 times per night. That kind of downhill scoring threat is something this team has been missing. His ability to collapse defenses is going to open things up for everyone else. Right now, the Warriors have struggled with their three-point shooting since the trade, ranking just 20th in the league. But a player like JK helps create better looks for the shooters around him. When he drives to the rim, defenses have to collapse. And that means more open looks for Steph, Hield, and Butler. This is exactly the kind of player who can help get their outside shooting back on track. And when JK plays, the Warriors win. It's that simple. Half of the games he's played in this season have resulted in a positive plus-minus, meaning he's consistently contributing to winning basketball. His net rating is positive, and his offensive rating of 111 shows that when he's out there, the team's offense is functioning at a high level. The biggest thing JK brings, though, is energy. He's a momentum shifter. He plays with intensity, attacks every possession, and brings a level of athleticism that most teams simply can't match. The Warriors have already looked like a team with renewed energy since the Butler trade, but adding JK back into the mix is only going to elevate that even more. This is a guy who can change a game in an instant. Whether it's a high-flying dunk, a big defensive stop, or a clutch bucket in transition, JK has the ability to swing the momentum in the Warriors' favor. That's exactly the kind of presence you need on a team that's looking to make a deep playoff push. And it's not just about what he brings individually, it's about how he makes everyone else better. Right now, the Warriors' rotations have been much more stable since Butler arrived. Roles are more defined, the offense is flowing better, and the team just looks more in sync. But once JK comes back, that rotation gets even stronger. Having JK in the lineup gives Kerr more flexibility with matchups, more options with lineups, and more ways to attack different teams. He can play multiple positions, guard different players, and provide that extra scoring punch that can make the Warriors even tougher to beat. And there's the chemistry factor too. JK was already building a strong connection with the rest of the team before his injury. And now, with Butler in the mix, that connection is only going to grow. Butler's presence has helped define roles for everyone, and JK is stepping back into a situation where his role is perfectly clear. He won't have to try to do too much, he just needs to play his game, and that's going to fit seamlessly into what the Warriors are doing right now. This is a team that has already taken a massive leap forward since the trade. They've become elite defensively. They've cleaned up their mistakes, and they've started dominating games again. But the fact that they've done all of this without JK, that just shows how much higher their ceiling is. Once he's back, this team is going to have even more weapons, even more depth, and even more versatility. That's what separates good teams from great ones. The Warriors have already shown that they're capable of going on a deep run, but when JK returns, they're going to be even more dangerous. The Warriors didn't just get better with Butler, they became a completely different team. And with JK coming back soon, they're only going to get stronger. This isn't just about making the playoffs anymore. This team is setting itself up to make real noise once they get there. But besides that, someone who's been completely locked in since the trade, Draymond Green. Draymond has been on an absolute mission since the Jimmy Butler trade. Say whatever you want, but he's locked in, and the results prove it. The Warriors' defense has been the best in the entire league since Butler arrived, and Draymond is at the heart of it. This isn't just a solid stretch of basketball. He's playing at a level that has fans and analysts seriously talking about him as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And let's be real, this wasn't even a conversation a month ago. Wemby was the clear frontrunner for the award, and rightfully so. His defensive impact was undeniable, and the way he controlled the paint made it seem like the award was already his. But now, Wemby is out for the season, and suddenly, the race is wide open. That's exactly why Draymond's name is coming up. If he keeps anchoring the best defense in the league, and the Warriors keep climbing the standings, he's got a legitimate shot. The biggest thing working in his favor, the Warriors' complete defensive transformation. Before the trade, they were ranked 10th in defensive rating. Since Butler arrived, they've jumped all the way to first. That's not just a small improvement, that's a complete shift in identity. And at the center of it all is Draymond, orchestrating everything, setting the tone, making sure everyone is locked in, and making life miserable for opposing offenses. The eye test tells the whole story. When he's on the floor, the Warriors' defense looks completely different. He's constantly in the right spot, communicating, switching on to any matchup, and disrupting plays before they even happen. He's the kind of defender who doesn't just stop his man, he makes the entire offense uncomfortable. The Warriors can now switch everything, recover quickly, and completely shut down opposing teams in the biggest moment, all because of Draymond's presence. And then there are the numbers, which only strengthen his case. Estimated Raptor, one of the best advanced metrics for measuring defensive impact, has him at plus 2.8. That puts him among the absolute best defenders in the league. He's right up there with Chris Dunn, Jonathan Isaac, and Goga Bitadze, all players who have been recognized for their elite defensive abilities. And with Wemby sitting At plus 3.3, the guy who was considered the runaway winner before his injury, Draymond isn't far behind at all. But here's the thing, defensive impact isn't just about individual numbers, it's about team results. And when it comes to that, Draymond has a case that's as strong as anyone. The Warriors' defense has completely turned around since the trade, and if they finish the season as the #1 defensive team, how can you ignore Draymond's role in that? The biggest challenge for his Defensive Player of the Year case is going to be the standings. If the Warriors finish too low, it's going to be tough for him to win because historically, voters reward players on top-tier teams. People are already saying that if the Warriors want Draymond to have a real shot at the award, they need to at least finish as the 5th seed. Right now, they're still climbing. But if they can get there while keeping this elite defensive level, his case gets even stronger. And let's not forget, Draymond has had better defensive seasons where he didn't win the award. That's just the reality. He's been the best defender in the league multiple times, but didn't get the trophy to show for it. But this year, there's no clear winner anymore. If he keeps leading the best defensive team in the league and the Warriors finish as a top seed, how do you not give him serious consideration? What's crazy is how different the perception of him was just a couple of months ago. When the Warriors were underperforming earlier in the season, there were people saying it was time to move on from Draymond. That always happens when the team struggle. People start looking for someone to blame, and Draymond is always a target. But now, he's proving once again why he's one of the most valuable defenders in the game. And the thing about Draymond is, he's never been a guy who puts up monster defensive numbers in terms of blocks and steals. That's never been his game. His value comes from his intelligence, his ability to read plays before they happen, and his unmatched versatility. He doesn't just defend one position, he defends everyone. He can guard bigs, wings, guards, whoever he needs to. That's what separates him from most defenders. He's not just good at getting stops. He's an entire defensive system by himself. And that's exactly why the Warriors defense has taken off since Butler arrived. Now that Draymond has another high IQ, two-way player alongside him, it's completely unlocked what this team can do defensively. They're forcing turnovers, closing out on shooters, and playing with the kind of intensity that made them a championship team in the first place. And Draymond is the engine behind it all. Even if he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, he should absolutely be a lock for first team All-Defense. There's no excuse for him not to be. If the Warriors maintain a top 5 defense by the end of the season, and Draymond is still leading that charge, he has to be recognized for it. No player in the league organizes a defense the way he does. No one elevates his teammates on that end of the floor the way he does. He's earned it. And if the Warriors keep trending in this direction, if they keep locking teams down, forcing turnovers, and winning games because of their defense, then Draymond's case for Defensive Player of the Year is only going to get louder. Because at the end of the day, that's what this award is supposed to be about. Who is the most valuable defender in the entire league? And if the best defensive team in the NBA is being led by Draymond Green, how do you not give him that recognition? This season isn't over yet. The Warriors still have work to do. But one thing is clear, Draymond is still one of the best defenders in basketball. And if he keeps this up, his name belongs right at the top of the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. And the thing is, when Curry is playing how he's playing, it's hard for the Warriors to not be great. Steph Curry has been nothing short of incredible this season. Year after year, people try to predict when he'll slow down, and every time, he proves them wrong. He's still the heart of the Warriors, still one of the most dangerous offensive players in the league, and still the guy who gives this team an unlimited ceiling. When he's at his best, there's no stopping Golden State. That's not just talk. The numbers back it up in every possible way. Curry is averaging 23.5 points per game, putting him ahead of 94% of players in the league. He's not just scoring a lot, he's scoring with insane efficiency. His effective field goal percentage sits at 56.1, meaning that he's not just jacking up shots, he's hitting them at an elite clip. He's making over 4 3-pointers per game, while also knocking down 3.5 2-pointers per contest. No matter where he's shooting from, he's getting buckets at an elite level. And when you dig even deeper into his efficiency, it's even crazier. His true shooting percentage is 60, ranking in the top 73% of the league. That means for every scoring attempt he takes, he's generating 1.2 points. That level of efficiency is ridiculous, especially when you consider that he's the focal point of every opposing team's defensive game plan. But Curry isn't just about putting up points, he's about making everyone around him better. His offensive rating sits at 118.5, which means when he's on the floor, the Warriors' offense is running at an elite level. His defensive rating is 115.5, proving that even though he's not known as a defensive stopper, he's holding his own on that end. And when you put it all together, his net rating A +3 shows just how much better the Warriors are when he's playing. Then there's his impact on team success. When Curry plays, the Warriors outscore teams by 4.7 points per 100 possessions compared to when he's off the floor. That's a massive difference. That number alone shows that when he's playing, the Warriors don't just compete, they dominate. And then you have his playmaking ability, which has been outstanding this season. He ranks in the top 94% of players in ball handling ability, proving once again that he's still one of the best in the league at controlling the offense. He's averaging just over 6 assists per game, while keeping his turnovers relatively low at under 3 per contest. That gives him an assist percentage of 28.29, ranking in the top 91% of the league. Think about that. Nearly 1/3 of all the baskets the Warriors make while Curry is on the floor come directly from his assists. And that doesn't even include all the times his gravity forces defenders to collapse on him, creating easy buckets for his teammate. His impact on offense goes far beyond just his own scoring. He's setting up others, making sure the ball moves, and keeping the Warriors system flowing at a high level. And what makes him even scarier is his ability to take care of the ball. His turnover percentage is just 10, meaning that for every 100 actions he takes, that result in a play-ending action, whether it's a shot, free throw, or turnover. Only 10 of them result in a turnover. That's an elite number, especially for a player who has the ball in his hands as much as he does. His usage rate is sitting at 29%, meaning he's heavily involved in the offense every time he's on the court. That's exactly what makes him so dangerous. Every possession matters when he's out there, and he finds ways to make an impact in so many different ways. But here's the thing, Curry isn't just an offensive machine. People love to talk about his shooting, scoring, and playmaking. But his defense has been solid as well. He's grabbing nearly 4 defensive rebounds per game, averaging 1 steal per contest, and even adding half a block per game. His mixed team defense ranking puts him in the top 61% of the league, proving that he's contributing on that end of the floor in ways that don't always show up in the box score. And all of this leads to the biggest point. When Curry plays great, the Warriors have no ceiling. That's just the reality. They've already been on a tear since the Jimmy Butler trade, but when Steph is at his best, this team becomes unbeatable. That's the difference between the Warriors and most other teams. A lot of teams need everything to go perfectly just to have a chance to win. But the Warriors, when Steph is locked in, they can beat anyone. There's no defense that can fully shut him down, no game plan that completely neutralizes his impact, even when defenses throw everything at him. His ability to create chaos, force mismatches, and generate open shots for himself and others is unmatched. And that's exactly why this team is so dangerous heading into the final stretch of the season. The Warriors have already transformed since the Butler trade. They've gone from a struggling, inconsistent team to one of the most dominant squads in the league. And that's happened even with Steph having nights where he isn't at his absolute best. But when he is, that's when the Warriors hit another level. That's when they go from being a playoff contender to a legitimate championship threat. The biggest proof of that is how the Warriors have been winning games since the trade. Their defense has been elite, their ball movement has improved, and their overall chemistry is back to where it needs to be. But the biggest advantage they have over any other team is that when Steph gets going, there's nothing anyone can do to stop him. We've seen it happen so many times over the years. A team can play great defense, execute a perfect game plan, and still lose, simply because Curry decides he's taken over. That's the kind of player he is. He's the ultimate game breaker, and that's why the Warriors' ceiling is limitless. They don't need everything to go perfectly to win. They just need Steph to be Steph. And as long as he's on the floor, this team has a shot against anybody. The numbers prove it. The eye test confirms it. And history has already shown us that when Steph plays great, the Warriors go from being a dangerous team to an unstoppable one. There's no team in the league that wants to see the Warriors fully locked in. And if Curry keeps playing like this, there's no telling how far this team can go. Overall though, the Warriors aren't just winning games, they're dominating in a way that makes it clear this team has completely transformed. What Jimmy Butler has brought to the squad goes beyond just his numbers. He's given them an identity again. Before the trade, the Warriors were inconsistent, constantly struggling to put together any real momentum. Now, they're playing with confidence, purpose, and touch, and a sense of urgency that had been missing all season. This isn't just a short-lived hot streak. This is a completely different team, and the results prove it every single night. The biggest shift has been in their energy. From the moment Butler stepped onto the court, the entire team's demeanor changed. They're playing with a level of effort and intensity that makes it obvious they believe in what they're doing. Before the trade, there were stretches where they looked disconnected, unsure of how to close out games, unsure of how to put teams away. That's gone now. They're playing fast but under control, aggressive but disciplined, and most importantly, they look like a team that knows exactly what it wants to do on both ends of the floor. Everyone has bought into their roles, and that's been a game changer. It's not just the stars carrying the load, it's every single player on the roster stepping up and doing their part. The rotations finally make sense. The chemistry is the best it's been all season, and the balance between offense and defense is as strong as ever. They've gone from being a team searching for answers to one that forces opponents to adjust to them. That's what made them so dangerous during their championship years, and that's what's making them so dangerous now. Their defense has been the biggest revelation. They're completely suffocating teams, shutting down offenses, forcing turnovers, and making life miserable for opponents every possession. This isn't just a slight improvement, it's a total shift in mindset. They're locked in on that end of the floor, and it's leading to easy transition buckets, extra possessions, and ultimately, more wins. They're finally playing the kind of defense that makes them a real threat in the playoffs. They're still improving. This isn't even their final form. They've done all of this while dealing with injuries, lineup changes, and adjusting to a major roster addition. Once they're fully healthy, once they've had even more time to gel, they're only going to get better. And that should scare the rest of the league. This team is no longer just trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to make noise once they get there. The Warriors have completely flipped the script on their season, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. This isn't just about turning things around, it's about proving they still belong among the league's elite. And right now, they're doing exactly that. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.